name is Isidro Ramirez and I work with California Safety Training Corporation. Today we're going to talk about hazardous communication and we're going to give you an update on the new regulations, the Globalized Harmonized System, the GHS, starting with some of the rules and regulations and requirements that the chemical manufacturer, the employer, and you as the employee will have to follow when dealing with hazardous materials. Chemical manufacturers must always determine, one of the responsibilities of the chemical manufacturers to determine the chemical hazards. They are also required to provide you with the labels and MSDSs. Your employer will have to give you a written program, hazardous communication program, and train you about hazardous materials. They also need to maintain current, up-to-date MSDSs, or as they're going to be soon known, SDSs. And you as the employee, your responsibility will be to follow and read the labels and the MSDSs, to always follow the manufacturer's recommendations and warnings, identify hazards before you start working. You're also required to participate in training, and that's what we're doing today. We're giving you an update and making you participate in training. Now, some of the chemical hazards, as you will see, are going to be, some of the chemicals you might be using around the facility, they might be flammable. Some of them might be explosives, some of them might be reactives, other ones could be corrosives. They also can have some effects on your health. For those, we classify them as acute toxics and chronic toxic. Acute toxicity will be something that happens to you right away. Say, for example, you're working with a chemical and all of a sudden you get exposed to it. And the first reaction of your body is for you to have watery eyes or headaches or stomach aches. Well, that's an acute toxicity. Now, chronic toxicities, on the other hand, they happen over time. Now, you get exposed to a material today, but years from now, when you develop cancer, that is a chronic toxicity. Other chronic toxicity that we see a lot in the field or in the workplace is chemicals that can be mutagenic, meaning that they're going to alter your cells in a way that your future generations will be affected. There's also chemicals known as teratogenics. Now, a teratogenic chemical is it's a chemical that affects the fetus as it's growing in the woman's womb. And we also have the carcinogens, which are the chemicals that can give you cancer. Now, some of the new regulations that we're going to see coming in, and we're supposed to already be training on these new regulations, is the GHS, and that's coming up in December of 2013. In December of 2013, the employers are supposed to be letting you know what the changes are coming. By June of 2015, chemical manufacturers must stop using the old MSDSs, and they have to start using the new ones. By December, okay, everybody should be using the new MSDSs and labels, and by June 1st of 2016, we should have full compliance. Now, what's happening is they're trying to globalize so that in a way everybody in the whole world will be familiar with the chemicals, so that no one will see the difference between a chemical and another one. Say, for example, right now you go to Mexico, and in Mexico they're using a totally different label than we use it here in the States. Or you go to Canada, the regulations are totally different. By the new system, everybody will start using the same labels, the same MSDSs, and that's what was going to happen. That's exactly what's going on right now. Part of this program is also to be able to understand how the chemicals are processed, how they go from the beginning all the way to the end, how they develop it, how they design it, how they manufacture it, how they transport it, how they use it, all the way to how do we get rid of it. Getting rid of it could be, say for example, is used oil. The only way that you can get rid of used oil is by taking it to the auto zone or auto parts store, and you take your old oil and they recycle it. Once they recycle it, you don't have to worry about it anymore. And a lot of the times with chemicals, we don't see that happen very often. Okay. Another thing that is going to be coming up is classification of hazards. We're going to have physical hazards and health hazards. If you remember from a couple of slides before, we...
Start over, wait a second, and start over this section.
Okay. One of the other things that we're going to see in the new changes is the classification of chemicals. One of the things that you see, or you remember from a couple of the slides that we did before, was that we only have flammable, combustible, reactive, and explosive. Well, now with the new changes, we're going to have 16 physical hazards. And those are going to go from explosives, flammable gases, flammable aerosols, organic compounds, okay, flammable liquids, flammable solids, etc., etc., etc. So those are some of the chemicals or changes that we're going to see. So instead of 4 or 5, we're going to have 16. Now, another thing that you're going to see when we talk about the new changes is going to be symbols. It's like, for example, you go anywhere in the world right now, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you see the skull and crossbones, you know that that means poison, dead, stay away. Well, that's what they're trying to do with the new changes. They're trying to come up with symbols so that everybody can see them and understand what the hazards of the chemical are going to be. We have symbols that say that the material is an irritant. Some of them will say that the material is an explosive. Some of them will say that it's a health hazard. You might have a cylinder in the middle of a symbol saying that it's a compressed gas. You might have the skull and crossbones again, and might say that it's a poison. You might have a flame, and it's telling you that it's a flammable. You might have a circle with a flame telling you that it's an oxidizer. You might have a chemical falling on a hand that is burning that is saying that it's a corrosive material. So these symbols are going to let you know what the hazards of the chemical are. You might also have some of them that say that it's dangerous to the environment. So that way, again, like I said, everybody in the world will know what the symbols are, what the hazards of the chemical is, and how to protect themselves from the chemical. There's also going to be changes in transportation. Now, we're not going to see a lot of changes because they're keeping the same placards, but the way they're going to do it is to make it more understandable. Now, most of us in the industry, we're not going to be dealing with the transportation rules, but it's still good for you guys to understand that if you see symbols like the ones we're showing right here, that you understand that it is a transportation requirement. Also, there might be other changes, and the changes are going to be in the categories. You're going to see category 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where we used to have category 1, 2, and 3. And also on the changes, we used to have danger, warning, caution. Now we're having danger, 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 warning, warning. And there's going to be pictures that are going to tell you if the material is dangerous or fatal if swollen, or toxic if swollen, or harmful if you swallow it. So it's all going to depend on the type of material that you're using, but you're also going to see these changes in the new categories. One of the major changes, it's going to be the way the labels are going to look. If you see here, our chemical label will look a little bit different than the one we were so used to for the longest time. It's going to have more pictures, easier to understand instructions, better first aid requirements. So it's a lot easier to understand. Instead of having too many words, in my opinion, you have pictures that show you the danger of the material. So to me, it's an easier way of complying with the rules. That's it. The other one is in Spanish. And then it's first aid and the differences between the label and the CDS.
Then end it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your attention, and hopefully you learned something new today. Like I said, these are changes that are coming up, and we're going to see them as the years progress. By 2016, that's when they're saying that everybody has to comply with the new rules and the new regulations. So thank you very much for your attention, and again, have a safe Safe day.